And how did nobody notice that DJ Pat was standing right behind Quavo's shoulders? That's the only reason why Quavo ducked when he started walking off. And you guys seeing the camera go down a little bit is because DJ Pat actually swung on Quavo. And the moment that he swung, Quavo ducked. But that was the sign when Lil Cam was looking over. As soon as dude swung, that's when Lil Cam did what he did over by Takeoff. And they had a whole third person standing right next to Migo Bands. And that's Quavo's brother. And that's why he didn't do nothing right away, because he knew it's some random guy standing right here, the one who had the all black on. And his hood was up too at the same time. And so now people are saying that, okay, so since Lil Pat said that, and DJ Pat and Lil Cam, they over here explaining exactly what they did because they're trying to pin it all on Migo bands. But you guys got to understand that they're all the fall guys. Everybody is talking about how the people that they got, they could be the fall guys. They could just be chess pawns, pieces in the puzzle that they just put together and they put in the front just to take the fall. Because the real people who's behind this, they still haven't caught like all of them yet. So a lot of people, they still trying to get justice. A lot of people in Houston, they still keeping their eyes out, head on a swivel, trying to figure out like if there's anybody that is on the run, anybody on the loose. Because if it's that third getaway car out, like they probably doing all sorts of crazy things, hitting licks to get their lawyer money together because they don't get no bond. And so you seen how Pat was begging so that he could get a PI to actually help solve his statements in his case. Like he can't even get the a real defender, so he had to get the PI, and he was begging the judge that. So you guys got to understand that they trying to tell a certain story so that they could get Migo bands tied up in this. But there's actually they the fall guys. So there's still people who was part of the argument. There's still people who might have even blew back or anything like that. That's still out there. Like DJ Pat and Lil Cam's driver, the driver was there. And it was another person who hopped in the trunk of the car. Like as soon as they was taking off, they opened that back hatch and jumped in. So somebody even jumped in the trunk, and they still out on the road. Like that person could have been the one who busted back too. Because if you guys don't, there were three people that had the blicks that day, and it was three people. So when you see that, it's Cam with one, Pat, and Amigo, and it's a whole nother person that had one too, but that's unidentified. Like that's the person that they all gonna pin it on, because they know that was the person who was actually trying to do the most damage. Like they were trying to actually get Quavo. If y'all didn't realize it, they were trying to get Quavo and Takeoff. But something happened to where they couldn't get Quavo for some reason because he was way too close to the crowd. Quavo, when he turned around and he ducked DJ Pat swinging, and you see the shiny shoes glimmer, Quavo was right there next to all the MobTies people, even the shot callers and the big OGs from MobTies. Quavo was right next to them. So the dude that was next to Migo Bands, hooded up, wearing all black, that rode with Pat and Lil Cam, who jumped in the trunk. Well, that guy, he was gonna do so. He was gonna make a move towards Quavo and like try to stick him up. But the thing was is that he didn't want to point it in a direction because it was all the Mob Ties people right next to Quavo. So if he would have did that, he could have missed, and it could have been something that happened to the Mob Ties people, which then would have made Houston even more crazy and even more of like a bad situation. The fact that if people from Mob Ties gets hit, because you already know that it's goons, it's people from Atlanta, it's Takeoff and Quavo's people from North Atlanta, from the hood. They in Houston right now looking for the getaway driver. They in Pat and Lil Cam's neighborhood right now. They went and knocked on Lil Cam's door just to see if anybody would answer. They went and knocked on Pat's door just to see if one of his cousins was going to step outside real quick. And so you guys got to understand that now North Atlanta is coming to take over Houston because they got to get everything under control. they got too many artists, too many famous people, too many celebrities that go from Atlanta, that come out of Georgia, Savannah, anywhere in Florida, and anywhere in that whole area of the Southeast, and they come into Houston. So all of the Migos people, all the Migos security, now they flooded Houston just to make sure the coast is clear, shut down any type of the street guys that like think they riding around with mob ties, but they really doing their own missions. And so they all up in Fifth Ward right now trying to make sure, hey, y'all gotta denounce all that. Everybody who had beef with Migos, you can't be rocking with them. You can't be supporting them. You gotta denounce that. Cause at the end of the day, it's too much respect for Takeoff. Like even the old real OGs in Houston know that Takeoff deserves a certain a specific and a certain type of respect. And so they know how this game goes. So they not trying to even get too involved in that. That's why they not quick to speak on anything, because they know that it's an issue where mob ties and the fact that Jazz and Junior threw the party and they invited every single person. They invited the 40 people, and they invited Cam and Pat, whether they knew what was going to happen or not. They invited them, and they knew what type of guys they were. So that's why it's a tricky situation for them, because it's like they want to believe them that they ain't had nothing to do with it. But it's like, why would you invite the crash test dummies that always end up doing something? Like these guys, Lil Cam and Pat, they don't actually get invited to anywhere unless it's a lick about to happen. The last time Pat and Cam even came out the house to do something was when Duke the Jeweler came to Houston with Boosie for that concert, and they did the dice game and they ran a play on him. They were trying to do the same exact thing to Migos. They're trying to do the same exact thing to Quavo and Takeoff. But the thing is that it only happened to Takeoff because Quavo was way too close to the boss man of Mob Ties in that area. He was standing right there next to the dude with the white hat, Mike. Because Mike is Jay Prince's right-hand man. That's his best friend. He's the shot caller. So he not going OG Mike and Big Mike. Like, he didn't want to have the third dude that came with Lil Cam and Pat. He didn't want to have to send anything in that direction, because he could end up doing something and it could malfunction. It could ricochet to his boss man. And so that's why they didn't want to take that risk. So they just try to swing on Quavo. But Takeoff was more in the open and in the clear. He was leaning up against that banister. And so that's how they knew to get them separated. Like they wanted to, if you was to actually see what exactly happened and be there, you would have noticed that at first Quavo and Takeoff was with each other with Migo bands and everything like that. But then somebody called Quavo over to take a couple steps away to talk to him with the group. And that's when the argument started back up. So they done purposely removed Quavo and Takeoff, like separated them. And then they try to distract him with the argument, because you got to understand the argument was the distraction. Y'all got to understand, you're not supposed to argue with no people. Arguments don't ever end up good. It's just people going back and forth with words. So if you in an argument, you just let the other person talk, and you really just make sure that if anybody moves a muscle, moves an action, lunges or anything, you already know what you gonna do. So you just let the other person argue and let them blow a fuse. Let them say whatever they want to say, because at the end of the day, if words ain't supposed to be hurting you like that. So you just let them run their mouth, and then if they not about that action, then they not actually gonna do nothing with the argument. So usually, if somebody really with with the street stuff, if they really about that action, they argue, and then at the end they try to swing on you, or they try to do this and do that. But no, at the end, you just gotta wait for those moves. So you let them run their mouth, and then you already gonna be prepared, knowing what you gonna do if they try to lunge or they try to move at you a certain way. So that's what's supposed to happen now. Quavo didn't get that message. Quavo doesn't know how to move like that. if you really look at it, Takeoff should be the uncle and Quavo should be the nephew. Cause Takeoff act more like an uncle. He act more mature, like he's been through more. He's more calm and collected. He keep his composure. He not gonna let you know if something bothering him like that. He not gonna let you know unless he telling you to shut it down. And so that's the thing, is that Quavo act like the younger nephew, but in the way their family situation is, he's the uncle, but he act like a younger, like more reckless. He act like he doesn't know. He act basically like he ain't been through enough to not know how to act. You see what I'm saying? He's still learning. Like Quavo is still learning how to move like a grown man or something. Like he's still getting into arguments and just talking, just babbling back and forth in the arguments. If you would have never got into the argument and fell for it, you wouldn't have fell for the trick. The first thing he should have said as soon as the argument started is that he ain't gonna argue with them, and he should have went right down the stairs and got into the Rolls Royce and left. And then that's the thing that is going on, is that you can't fall for the tricks that they try to play on you to get you to respond a certain way. Because you see, what they wanted to do was that they wanted to argue to Quavo and have Quavo be the one that spazzes out, because he gets so involved in the argument and he keeps trying to say something back that eventually he would have been the one to try to swing or try to make a move. And so that's what they were trying to bait him to doing. But they basically ran out of time, so they just did it quickly. They got Quavo distracted, then he tried to walk off, tried to swing on him, and then that's when everything hit the fan after that. So look, man, it's condolences that go to Takeoff. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment down below. Let me know where y'all from and who you rocking with. I'm going to catch you on the next video.